Welcome students, welcome again to this next video lecture, and we are leading forward to the content that is listening. We are going to continue this previous part regarding the listening activity. Okay, so welcome back to the lecture on listening and to the class on international business communication. And I'm sure I have given you lots of theories, lots of different things to think about, to talk about, to discuss in class, and I just wanted to give you a background of whatever we have been doing. Then we will move on to the more interesting parts of the lectures on communication, which is the applications of communication, and we will do one of those things today. So let us get started. We were talking about listening last time, and we will continue with the same thing today. Before we go to that again, the same routine, let us start with a little bit of a revision. So discuss amongst yourself, think about this before you move on to the portions of this lecture. Think about what listening is and why it is important for manager to listen, to develop the ability to listen. It is not as easy as it sounds. It's very difficult, and we were talking about some barriers to communication, to speaking and listening, and we will talk about the barriers to listening today. But I really want you to think why it is important for a manager to listen, to start speaking and listening. And we have seen you might you might have seen that interesting clip from the movie The King's Speech the last time, and I would like to discuss amongst yourself if you have not already done so. So please discuss the connection between listening and speaking, and is it always good to listen, or do you need to tune out at some point, as you saw in that movie? And of course, this will take us to the next part of today's lecture, which is to the first part of the today's lecture, which is the barriers to listening. And one of the barriers I can hear in the background right now, there is something that is being hammered somewhere. Anyway, okay, means you might be disturbed, or while listening you might be disturbed by some kind of sound that you might be facing there, and that is the physical barrier also. So that interferes with your ability to listen, that interferes with your ability to proceed, the signals coming from your environment. The one very important factor that we discovered from the clip, you might be discovered from that clip last time from the King's Speech. Again, I urge you to watch that movie. It's very nice. But the king had a problem. He stammered, and the person who was helping him with the stammering discovered that his stammering was not a biological disorder, which in most cases it is not. It was more as a psychological disorder, and I'm not trying to train you on speech therapy or anything like that. I'm just trying to help you understand what can interfere with your normal day to day conversation. So, what we discovered in that clip last time was that once the king tuned out or stopped the intrapersonal communication, we have talked about the levels of communication. We talked about intrapersonal communication, which is the communication we have with ourselves. We communicate with ourselves, we talk to ourselves, we have lots of thoughts going on in our own minds. That is intrapersonal communication, and this is what the king was concerned about. And he had too much going on in his mind. He had this fear of speaking. He assumed that he would not be able to speak, so he couldn't speak properly with a nice flow. Maybe resonation, stammering was a result of some fear that have been there. But that sort of, the feedback that he kept getting from the environment set into his fear and just increased his fear. And once this person who is helping him reduced the level of intrapersonal communication by increasing the noise, he told the king that you have to speak what is written on in this book. And once the king started speaking what was written in the book, and he started focusing on something else, on something about other than his own fear of speaking, his speech was flawless. So that the connection, listening too much can interfere with our ability to speak, and that is where I would leave this. It is not so simple, but Not so simple means, suppose someone is making noise and someone has told you to read or to listen properly, and after listening with those with noise, it is not possible to listen clearly, because at the same time you are listening the speech and at the same time you are listening the noise, and the ideas you will not clarify there while listening or comprehending the information with noise. Okay, so that is the example here. But then further, to move to take the conversation forward, you will just talk about listening first, and then the own purpose of this lecture is not to train you to give you PhDs or to give you PhDs in communication or anything. It is to give you full food food for thought. It is to synthesize you to an environment. So that is what I want you to do right now. I want you to take this little stimulus and think a lot more, and discuss amongst you yourselves, and discover your own unique ways of becoming sensitive to your environment. Okay, so without further do let us move on. There are some forms ineffective listening. Hmm? We talked about listening last time. We talked about these things in a different context. I will repeat some of these things. It may seem a little repetitive, but it is okay. So we are talking about listening, and there are some forms of ineffective listening that we do consciously. One is pseudo listening. One is pseudo listening, and what pseudo listening is? It means pretending to listen, appearing attentive but not really listening. That is called here pseudo listening. Okay, means like you are doing a drama. Okay, and this is what most of you do in class. I hope not sure. I'm not sure. I hope not. But anyway, so this is what this is what we do when we are forced to sit through a class, or when we are forced to sit through a meeting, or when we have too much going on and we are trying to attend to various things. So we pseudo listen. We pretend to listen the problems that can happen, because the pseudo listening are the first thing is that nothing really registers. Nothing really goes into our minds. Nothing really registers with us. We do not perceive anything. We do not make connections. We do not form memory traces. It comes and goes. For the speaker, pseudo listening can cause confusion about feedback from the audience. The speaker is trying to focus on various things at the same time. The speaker is also looking for feedback from the audience. That is going to get the speaker some stimulus or some direction as to how to take the conversation forward. So feedback is also important. Again, in further we'll discuss what are the types of feedback and how it is important for us or in our organization. So even if the content is said, the speaker wants to get some feedback from the environment regarding what he or she should be focusing on, or he would be focusing on, or what he or she or he should be emphasizing on the content is there. But the amount of time and energy spent on every part of that content depends on what the audience wants. As we talked about communication, effectiveness of communication doesn't depend on me as a speaker, it depends on you as the listener. So you have to keep reminding me what matters more to you, and that is the hard part of these lectures. I don't have that real word feedback from here anyway. So pseudo listening creates a confusion about the feedback from the audience and can interfere with the speaker's ability to fairly assess the situation and the effective in speaking situations. The other form of an effective listening is monopolizing. Monopoly, so one person is sort of they be all, and all one person takes the lead in doing things. That is called here monopoly. So what monopolizing does is, how do we monopolize? We can as the reroute, which means we the listener keeps bringing the attention to their own selves, or we can interrupt, and you can keep interrupting the speaker. This is where feedback comes in. This is how we monopolize. We keep giving the speaker that we as listeners are more important than what is being talked about. So even if the conversation focuses on a general topic, per se, I'm the one you should be focusing on, not what you are talking about. Please make sure everything you are saying is connected to me. In this way, we again make by saying this we aware the listener, and whether there is a connection or not, I really do not care. I want the attention focused towards me, towards the things that matter more to me. And how do we do this? We do this by rerouting discussions. We do this by interrupting the speaker. We do this by not letting the speaker complete whatever she is or he is trying to say. And the problems this can create, they are not up on the slide. What that why do not you discuss amongst yourselves? And the problems this can get create are, of course, for the speaker. It can distract the speaker from what is being said for the listener. It can give the listener a biased view of the whole situation and completely skewed view of the whole situation. Okay, so the other forms of ineffective uh, listening are selective listening and defensive listening. Okay, so where selective listening means where we focus only on particular parts of communication. Hmm? We focus on particular part of communication. This is what happens when we are sitting in class with a specific purpose environment. It is good, it is very good to selectively listen sometimes, but what it does is it takes the parts. I mean, we decide what we want to listen to, and we filter our sounds, other sounds or other parts of the content. What this does is it shows us things that are scattered all around. It removes things from their context and just presents them to us as we want to see them. So the biggest problems because of this that can happen, or one is we tend to misinterpret things. We talked about the importance of context in understanding situations. We have talked so much, we have discussed so much information about context in communication. Okay, so in perceiving the situations accurately, and when we take things out of context and we see only parts of the whole, not parts. We do not see parts in context with the whole. We see parts removed from the whole, which is selective listening. Hmm? Means we deliberately listen some part. We don't deliberately listen a whole part of the context or content. Okay, so we tend to listen to things and make our own connections, which may or may not be there. The other thing this can result in is incomplete understanding, leading to confusion or bias. Okay, so if we do not see the connections that the speaker is intending to show us, we may form our own connections because we want to remember whatever we have heard or listened to. And if we are only listening to parts of the whole situations of parts of the whole things that is being said, we will try and form our own connections because we missed out the connections that the speaker had really intended to show us, and that can lead to confusion or bias on our parts. We focus only on one side. We see only one side of the story. We see only one aspect of the whole story. And of course, that can then that is spread back into the system. The speaker gets a different view, and the whole communication process is affected because of that. Okay, so the other form of ineffective listening here is defensive listening. Okay, defensive listening is perceiving personal attacks, criticisms, or holistic undertones in communication where none is intended. I feel that I am the one being victimized. We feel, or you feel. I feel that I am the one being victimized at all times, that is defensive listening. Everybody is working against me. So I whatever I listen to is things that are not in my favor, and that kind of an approach. And I'm not saying whether it is right or wrong. All I'm saying is that yes, sometimes it happens. Sometimes when you are under a lot of stress, we had things going negatively, we tend to get defensive. We tend to put up this wall in front of us where we were so scared to step out because we keep getting hurt and we keep hearing negative things. So we just put up this whole wall, and after the state of negative things, if something positive comes along, even then we do not see it as positive. And the problems this can create is again a bias and unnecessary stress leading to selective listening and related issues. Okay, so we are under so much stress that we are only able to see parts of the whole, and then that leads to misinterpretations, that leads to incomplete understanding, that leads to confusion and bias. Okay, next is that ambushing means forms of affective listening. Ambushing is selective listening. Ambushing is selective listening for the purpose of gathering ammunition to using attacking the speaker. Means you want to give the reply with ammunition. Means you want to attack the speaker with getting the information because he has already targeted you feel that. Okay, so this is what we have seen something. Again, I don't think it will be politically correct for me to point out the professions in which we might see this, so I will leave you all to discuss that. But once in a while we use this tactic of this when we are having debates in college. Okay, when you are having some sort of a speech competition, we look for material to attack the other person with, or we will look of vulnerability what the other person is saying. And or when we as teachers are listening to you, we are not really looking for information to attack you with. We are looking to note down the points that you may be weak in. Okay, sometimes teachers scold you, scare you. Okay, so the main purpose is that you must note down the information. You should not sit physically only and listen the content. At the same time, we should note down the points physically, so that we can help you improve upon those points, those aspects of your speech. The biggest problem with ambushing, and again ambushing has a negative connotation, but critical listening can also be sort of a positive side of ambushing. Problems are, it is the exact opposite of defensive listening. Okay, ambushing is the exact opposite of defensive listening. So it is not I who is being attacked and the one who is attacking somebody else, and the one who is gathering all this material to attack somebody, to catch them on the wrong foot, etc. And again, this can lead to bias and misinterpretation. The next form of ineffective listening is literal listening. Okay, literal listening means only listening for content versus listening in context. Literal meaning means only listening for content versus listening in context. I focus only on what I see. I do not see it as part of the whole. I do not see it in context. If somebody says I'm not able to speak today, or if somebody says I'm not prepared for the lecture today, or if somebody comes to work and says I will not be able to give it 100% today, what do we say? You are not giving your work 100%, so you are ineffective, you are inefficient, you are not doing your work properly, so the salary will be deducted. You do not let the other person see where they are coming from. You don't see where this person is coming from. You even had a bad day. Okay, the previous day maybe they have not been able to sleep, maybe they have been sick, but the person says, I'm sorry boss, I could only finish 50% of the work, and that is all you focus on. You do not listen to everything else what the person has said, and we unfortunately label all these things as professionalism. I do not think that is right. But again, you are entitled to your own opinion. The biggest problem for biggest problem with listening for content, where should listening is context, is misinterpretation. All these forms of ineffective listening are not mutually exclusive. They are all connected to each other. Okay. Anyway, the last form of ineffective listening is that emotional deafness. I would like to tell you about this emotional deafness. It is the mental tuning. It is the mental tuning out that happens when the speaker uses terminology that turns off the listener or user's words. So, embodied with feeling that the listener gets caught up in what is being said. So, full of emotion, I come and I say, oh my god, communication is great. You know, you must get into communication, and I'm giving you all these theories and everything, and unless I explain the applications to your real lives. Okay, so if you, as listeners of whatever I'm saying, or get interested in the theories I'm talking about, then maybe you'll just look at what I have said. Just these theories not go deeper and deeper into it and on. On the other hand, if there are practitioners who are listening to what I'm saying, they may feel uncomfortable about some of the theories I am discussing. I accept that, because they will say you are giving us all of this information, but what is the practical utility? And I don't care. If 500 people wrote different things on communication, I would rather see 500 situations. So the minute I start drawing out these complicated theories and these complicated viewpoints, you emotionally tune out. You are like, what is going on? I don't understand this. I don't care which theory is known to be the best. I don't care how good this person may be professionally. If she is not saying what I feel passionately about, I do not have to listen to anything he or she says, and that is perfectly fine. We all do it. The factors affecting emotional deafness are: one is the level of environment. Okay, so it is important here. The factors affecting emotional deafness are: one is the level of environment. So the modern was we are the more likely we are to be biased either in favor of or against. So whatever is being said in context, and the less likelihood of there is of us wanting to listen to things in the right perspective. So that is our level of environment. That environment interferes we are so caught up with our own emotions. We are so caught up with what we feel about whatever is being said. So let us take a controversial topic like an example. Let us take a controversial topic like the India-Pakistan crisis, for example. We all have very, very strong views about that. You all have very strong views about the manner in which gender issues are handled in different countries, and we are all we have very strong views about the ethics. For example, I'm just giving the broad examples. So whenever we take sides, we get so caught up in emotion. I feel this about my religion, I feel this about religion as a whole, and we start talking about these things. We get so caught up in emotion, and we just tune out. We just forget whatever else exists, and it is unless a passionate about something you can really move forward. Okay, but it can interfere with your ability to see things and perceptive next. Okay, perceptive. Next is defensiveness. Hmm? Defensiveness. Here, this one. Defensiveness. Emotional defensiveness can be effective by defensiveness. If I am insecure about something, if I feel that I am being attacked by somebody or something that is being said, I can get more and more defensive, and that can in turn lead to my all these negative feelings in my mind about what people are saying about me, and that can in turn affect how I reacts to my environment and what I taken from the environment, my defensiveness. We talk about defensive listening. So resentment of opposition. Somebody is not too happy with. Somebody is not too happy with what I am saying, and somebody says, well, whatever you are saying, it doesn't mean anything. Somebody is, and many people criticize, and what I am saying or oppose what I am saying, and that leads to, or what I feel, and that leads to so much of discomfort that it interferes with my ability to listen to those people. Class of personalities. I just do not like the person who is saying things. I just do not like the person I am forced to listen to interfere with my ability to listen to this person, and so that can cause emotional deafness. Okay, so next, some barriers to listening. Hmm? We talked about barriers to communication, so I'm not going to repeat that. Those same barriers apply here also. Difference in context is another one. Then we have these intrapersonal barriers within our own minds, within ourselves. And the first one is comparing. We compare whoever is saying, and these are the barriers to listening. If I am listening, I have a tendency to put myself in the shoes of the speaker, or I have a tendency to think, if I were the one saying this, I would do it slightly differently. If I were the one teaching this class on communication, I would be able to teach it much better than someone else, or than some other teachers who is sitting up there and giving us all these complicated theories and all this complicated information. So you compare the speaker to yourself or others, or somebody in my class can make a better presentation on communication than he or she can, but he is sitting at them and I am forced to listen to that teacher. So that is comparing mind reading. So that is comparing mind reading the speaker. You look at me and you try and figure out what is going on in my mind. I wish you could this classroom, you would probably get a different perspective. I have empty chairs in front of me and I am teaching empty chairs right now, and I am hoping that some of you will be sitting on these chairs at some point. But when the speaker says something, we try and assume what the speaker must be feeling, or we try and assume what the speaker must be, or what the speaker will be saying next, and that can interfere with our ability to listen to things on perceptive. The next enter is my barrier rehearsing. Mind reading and rehearsing. So if I am the one who is supposed to speak next, then I keep thinking about whatever I can get from the speaker, so that I can save the next thing much more effectively. So filtering. We talked about selective listening. We talked about selective listening. Then judging is another one. I am evaluating the person, I am evaluating the situation, I am evaluating the content, and I am so busy evaluating what has been said, or who is saying things, or how the audience is reaching, that I miss out on whatever else is being said, because listening is dynamic, speaking is dynamic, the flow of conversation is dynamic. Something is coming to me from the environment, and I get so caught up in whatever, and by the time whatever is reaching me, whatever is coming to me has reached, it's really in the past 5 minutes. You look at it physical philosophically, the next thing is on it is way. So by the time I process the information, it's already outdated by a few milliseconds probably. But anyway, do you mean, my God, what a boring lecture on communication. I do not want to listen to all this. I will just read all the slides and I am thinking about the next meal I am going to have with my friends, and this might be tuned out. So identify with what is being presented. Some communication teacher in the classroom could be looking at what I'm saying and saying, oh, great, somebody else feels the same way that I do about communication. Great, I hope some of you are able to do that. And so you identify and you are like, this is what really makes sense. Advising the speaker, dreaming, we observe, and advising. Let's see here, advising. So advising the speaker, advising senior professionals, welcome your advice, looking forward to it. If you are sitting in the audience, if you are listening to my lecture, my reviewers would probably be wanting to point out things, and you will say, I need to advise this teacher or lecturer of that subject on these things. So do not mumble too much, not too much. Do not go off track too much. Do not get repetitive, and you are so busy looking for opportunities or looking for instances where where I tend to repeat things that you miss out and what I am saying. Okay. So uh, next, sparing again. Sparing again, being quick to disagree. Some of us have that habit. Sparing is, sparring against. Sparring again, being quick to disagree. Some of us have that habit. We immediately know, I feel wrong. I feel, we immediately, somebody asks us something and we raise our own hands and we say, I'm disagree, I have different points of view. It's great to have a different points of view. The coaching centers for MBAs or interviews and all those places teach you to have an edge over others, and how do you develop that edge? By being different. And how do you be different? Because you question, and if think, and you if think and you, so that you have this different angle, different stories, so different perception about everything, different ideas about different things. And unfortunately, that can interfere with our ability to listen to things that you might actually agree with, because you are so busy trying to develop that edge about over the others in your team. When you go for these group discussions and all, what do your coaching centers tell you? Again, this is not a track, this is an, yes, it has to, but it has to be naturally. It cannot be taught. It has to develop with practice. So what people tell you, that you need to have an edge over the others, and then you were in your attempt to convince the evaluator that you have an edge over the others, and you immediately look for things to disagree on, immediately raise your hand, immediately jump into the group discussion and say disagree, and then your attention is focused on you, and you may end up repeating the same thing again. But so that it is sparring, being right is in your inability to accept criticism. Again, I'm the biggest defaulter here. It is hard for us as we grow older, as we gain more and more knowledge. It is hard for us to accept that we could be wrong in some situations, but everybody has a right to their opinions. and everybody has a right to critically point out things that we don't agree with. Some of us have higher inability, or some not as able to accept criticism. Okay, and that can interfere with us, with our listening, with listening to things that might actually help us improve whatever we are doing. Derailing some of us, we just change the topic because something else takes priority, and practicing and once in a while, you know, just to avoid disagreement, just to avoid negative situation, whether we agree with something or not, we just completely miss on the things. We want to be expected, we want people to like us. So what do? We just keep nodding our heads. Somebody says, do you agree? Yes, I agree. Yes, I agree. So that can interfere with our listening. Okay, so let us stop here. We may discuss again the remaining part. So let us stop here and have a good day. Thank you.